Now that's a hallway fight. We just watched episode 8 of season 2 of Daredevil Born Again, the final episode called The Southern Cross. We're going to talk about everything that happened in this episode, the great, the okay, and the still don't fully understand that stuff. And we might do a little bit of speculation about things we might see in the future, although that may warrant its own video. We'll see when we get there. So this is the final episode of Daredevil Season 2, and this is the final episode of the second Marvel thing in 2026. The first being Wonder Man, and I gotta say, I think they're 2 for 2. And not like 2 for 2 in a pass-fail system, like 2 for 2 in that I think these are B+A shows. Like these are some of the best seasons of TV that Marvel has made, people are really enjoying them, and it has started people asking the question, is 2026 the year Marvel is back? And not the same way that it's back and then it's over and then it's back and then it's over every other. Like, this is consistency. And listen, is it easy to say 2 things in? I think I see a trend. Yeah, it is easy to say that. But I think Wonder Man was something that I did not expect would be as good and as well received as it was. And Daredevil Born Again is something that we already saw a season of, and most people were like, it's okay. So this is not just Marvel making good superhero things again. This is Marvel, A, making a very unusual superhero show, and then B, fixing one of its broken superhero shows. And I think that is an achievement, it's an accomplishment. I'm very happy as a fan of Daredevil and a fan of these characters that they have come this far, and that season 2, while not perfect, had a solid ending. I think it stuck the landing. And most of that comes from the fact that the rest of the show has been good, right? Everything that we're going to talk about are things that have been built up to. Now, I remember when this episode started, my thought was, okay, I think this is going to go one way. I think I knew what we were getting. It would be a court case where Matt reveals he's Daredevil. I did not think this would end with a big fight. Not because I didn't want one, or I didn't think it would be cool, just because I didn't see a way that Fisk could escalate where they currently were to a fight. Like, I didn't think Fisk could punch his way out of this one. And I underestimated this guy, who, after this performance, I feel like we gotta test him for the mutant gene or something, because he's incredibly strong. Like, the deal with Fisk has always been, he looks like a big fat guy, but in reality, it's all muscle. He's 500 pounds of pure muscle, which, don't get me wrong, is a lot, but I don't know if that's punched through a brick column kind of muscle, or punch a guy so hard he goes flying to the other side of the room kind of muscle. Now, don't get me wrong, I love that he ended up fighting everybody in that hallway. That's one of my favorite parts of the whole series. But he's not what I expected, and that's what I like about it. I think the court case, everything we got in the courtroom was fun. You know, entertaining, tense, clearly building to some sort of you can't handle the truth moment, which is where it ended up. There were certain things like the video testimony that I had genuinely forgotten we hadn't seen. In my head, I was like, oh yeah, they probably put that in that video that they projected onto the wall of City Hall that one time. We just didn't see it. But no, that is new. We get more Jessica Jones this episode, which is great. So that's 3 episodes of Jessica Jones in this 8-episode season, which is a good amount of Jessica Jones. Probably got the most screen time in this episode. And while we did get a little bit of closure, it also doesn't make that much sense, so we'll talk about it. But Jessica's like, Matt, you gotta go back to trial. Fisk is like, Buck Cashman, you killed Michael Gandolfini. And then Buck Cashman's like, I did. I'm kinda sad about it, maybe. Really hard to read this character. I have no idea what to expect from him in the future. And we learn, this is pretty cool, that Fisk has to testify, or at least it's been called to testify by Murdoch. And it's that kind of thing where a clever hero can bait a villain into making mistakes because of their huge ego. And it works. Also, I love Matt's suit this episode. I feel like we see him a lot with the red tie and stuff, but not this Merlot colored suit with the tie and the glasses. Oh, he should have been dressed like this the whole time. It's a bummer he's gonna not be a lawyer anymore because this is his look. We get some more Heather Glenn. Heather Glenn has a book we see, it's called Men in Masks. I just want to say, A, that title's not very good. B, the cover is not very good. And I'm not saying that I think the people that designed the cover for the show did a bad job. I'm more saying this does represent the fact that she's not that good at this. You know, she wrote a book about vigilantes and just called it Men in Masks. And she reads a passage from it in court, and it is the most basic passage anyone has ever thought of about masks, which is that classic, maybe the mask isn't the real mask, but the public face, that's the mask. By the way, speaking of Heather, I got some responses from people last week saying, hey, you said last week that she knows that Matt is Daredevil, but that's not true. She doesn't know that yet. I'm not convinced that's true. I think the way that she and Fisk speak in episode 7, at least the way I read it, suggests some sort of like unsaid secret, something they can't say. And I don't think there's any reason why Fisk could not say, like your ex-boyfriend, who I have a problem with as well. Feels like in that moment, a minute where they're both saying, like, we both know the thing, but if we say it, then that ruins it, so we're not gonna. But I could be convinced that she doesn't know. I'd have to ask the actor, I guess. Then we see that there's a plan for Bullseye to shoot somebody. But that's not Bullseye, because he's got cops with him. That's a guy in the Bullseye costume that I'll probably end up with at the end of this year for Halloween. And it'll be like, could I get the real one? No, but this is kind of the one that you get online. It's like Bullseye style costume. Like, from a distance, it's okay. The only way it looks bad is if you see it next to the real Bullseye costume, and then it's like not even close. Yeah, at this point, if you're a member of the AVTF, what kind of short straw do you have to draw to get the impersonate Bullseye job? There are not a whole lot of people in this administration, like people working with Fisk, that I would say are like safe. You know, like they're all in a fair amount of danger, but no one is in more danger than the one that's pretending to be Bullseye. Doesn't matter how many cops you have, because he has so many knives, he can bounce off so many surfaces, and it's great. I think it's hard to look at this season for one of the big takeaways to be Bullseye is awesome now. At least I feel like I'm running the risk of saying, give us a Bullseye show. Give us something more with Bullseye. I want Bullseye immediately. When in reality, he might be one of those characters that works well in small doses. I'm not sure. We'll talk about it, but I think there is an obvious road forward for this character, although I'm not sure how that will present itself. You know, maybe we'll get tired of him in the future. I will say, the effects with Bullseye this season have been great. The very animated knives bouncing off the surfaces, the sound effects that come with it, sometimes the fun camera work, like when he throws the 3 knives to stop the guy from getting the gun in this episode. Like, it's very creative, and it's not necessarily believable in the sense that, like, I think anybody could do this, but it's believable in the sense, like, I'm doing it. I'm seeing him do it right there. The same way that, like, Captain America throwing the shield and bouncing back to him, like, of course that's not real, but if you show it to me and you use the right sound effects and the right editing, I'll buy it. And then Wilson Fisk goes to court, and Matt tries to get him, like, basically convicted of all the crimes. And the judge, who is cool and we like her, lets him go with it because she thinks this is all crazy. I don't think she realizes how much danger she's in if this doesn't work out for her. She's definitely getting head smushed if she, like, overrules the other judges but doesn't end up convicting Fisk. She's in some trouble. Then they pull out the video testimony, and we get this scene in the judge's office, which I don't think Daredevil, the show, has ever done this before. Fisk speaks to Daredevil by whispering something only Daredevil can hear. And that's awesome. That shows like a level of familiarity and closeness with these characters. Fisk is in Matt Murdock's head, and Matt Murdock responds because to him, Fisk is right there in the room with him because they're so close. In reality, he's not. He gets caught off guard, and it's, you know, cute little moment. I know a lot of people are saying, God, can we get another villain besides Fisk? Does every season need to be about Daredevil versus Wilson Fisk? I get it. I will say the one that wasn't about it was season 2, and that one was maybe one of the less good ones. But I think A, these characters are endlessly watchable. B, they have grown. And C, I do think this is the end. Like, I think this finale, I'm sure we'll see him again in the future because, as you know, he survives the episode. But I don't think he is going to be a big bad anymore. Who's left? There's a couple of characters. Maybe we'll talk about that in another video. But I think this works as a finale for him. Matt finally fighting him in his arena, taking him to the courthouse, getting him under oath, angering him, forcing this outburst, and using the secret Fisk thinks Matt does not want to tell to ultimately finish Fisk. It's genius. But, you know, I like the levels of this conversation. Fisk and Matt both know Matt's Daredevil. Fisk doesn't want to reveal that information because he knows it's the ultimate leverage he holds over Matt. But he also wants to remind Matt without saying it, I have this leverage over you. And I think that's pretty cool. The governor shows up to the court case, brings Jessica Jones. Then eventually Matt Murdock pulls a Tony Stark, says, I'm Daredevil. I absolutely love how he proves to everybody that he is Daredevil by doing a Daredevil thing. And this is why, in this moment, Buck seems surprised. Maybe more surprised that he would do this, because I do think Buck has this information. Heather does not seem surprised in this moment. Even if she didn't know, I think she suspected Matt was Daredevil, based on this reaction she gives. You know, it's one of those things where I'm sure she was like, he's working with Daredevil, there's something about Daredevil he's not telling me, and in the back of her head she was probably like, but maybe he is Daredevil? But that would be a crazy thing to say out loud. Unless he said it, then everything's fine. I also think now, and we'll kind of get to the consequences of this in the end, just what happens in the rest of this episode. It all happens after Daredevil came out as Daredevil, basically exposed Fisk for doing all of the crimes it seems like he ever did, which include, from just this season alone, killing his boxing coach, having his press secretary killed, killing the doctor that operated on his wife, and then last season, killing the chief of police, and then previously killing a lot of people, including Ben Ulrich. And that's not even counting any of the people he sent Bullseye to kill in season 3. That's also not counting like all the individual people he had exploded, or how like the task force killed Hector Ayala. I guess it's just like, if you lived in this universe, I think what people would say to each other as this is kind of going on before maybe this moment is, yo, of course Fisk is corrupt. but he's not killing his doctor. And he's not killing all the reporters and killing the chief of police. Like, things happen. The city's dangerous. And then you watch TV and it's like, no, he did kill all those people. It was a huge conspiracy. Everybody he's ever met is either a friend of his or has been murdered by him. You know, it just got to be really hard. Again, and we've talked about this a lot. It's going to be really hard to be a just regular citizen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Within like a span of like a couple of years, President Hulk tried to fight Captain America. Then a new Avengers got announced right after everybody got sent to the Nightmare Dimension. And now it turns out the mayor, who everybody knew was a criminal the whole time, is even more of a criminal than you would expect. But I don't know, maybe that only seems like it to us, but like if Our Life was a TV show someone was watching, they'd be like, oh my god, can you believe they have income inequality and climate change and coronavirus at the same time? How does anybody get anything done? And I do think there is a way forward for this universe, especially because Thunderbolt Ross is out, Kingpin is out. You could elect some presidents and some mayors that are friendly to superheroes or just generally good, popular, liked people. Trustworthy people. We'll see Sheila take up the mantle of mayor next after Fisk, because that's something that the Spider-Man trailer kind of spoiled. But like, I think this universe needs a big swing. Not necessarily that like apocalyptic things don't happen anymore, but just that the people in charge of every level of government are people you can at least kind of trust to not be the bad guy. So Daredevil says, and as Daredevil, I'm going to corroborate all this stuff, and Jessica Jones is going to corroborate it. We apparently also have an assassin that's willing to testify that Fisk did what he did. We're not going to say that now, but like, trust me, Judge, we're good. And the judge is like, you know what? That's good enough for me. And they dismiss the case. I'm sure people will say, well, that's not how a courtroom works. And this isn't a courtroom. This is a weird tribunal thing. But it's funny that we see Matt and Fisk fight their last big fight in the courtroom. Like, Matt and Fisk do not fight after this point. Matt fights all the guys to get to Fisk. Fisk fights all the guys to get to Matt. So the last big, like, stare down before the bit at the very, very end of the episode is a court case that Matt wins with lawyering and by giving up this thing that is very important to him, but he needed to give up to save everybody. It's perfect. I think one thing that's tricky with this episode, especially compared to like other episodes that I really, really love, like episode 4, the Bullseye episode, is that was very surprising. Like, I did not expect the Bullseye episode to be that fun. I did not expect the Bullseye fights to be that fun. I definitely didn't expect the end of the episode. Whereas this, while it was very satisfying and I think it was a good conclusion to all these arcs, you kind of see some of it coming, and I think that's okay. In fact, that's good. You're supposed to set these things up, and obviously there's still plenty of surprises in the episode, but I understand why this would not feel as exciting as some of the other episodes did, or it wouldn't give you the same feeling. But I still think this episode is very successful, and it like brings together a really excellent season of television. So then they all try to leave. Part of me is like, Matt's not supposed to leave, but maybe he's just seeing Fisk out. But then Bullseye shoots Buck Cashman, and everybody has to stay in the courthouse. Now, a little bit of time seems to pass, where the good guys are in the office, and the bad guys are in the courtroom. During that time, the AVTF creates a perimeter protecting Kingpin in the courtroom, then a larger perimeter keeping everyone out of the courthouse. What I think this scene is missing, and this whole setup is missing, is a little bit more urgency. Because there are bits that I think do make the action urgent. Right? Like, Fisk goes out and he's like, New York, will you fight for me? I need you to rise up and take back our city. And in a world where Fisk was more popular and this wasn't such a huge loss for him in court, I could see a world where that is enough urgency. The problem is, the way everything's set up, it doesn't really seem like Matt, Karen, and the rest of the crew are in danger. They definitely are, because Fisk sends the task force after them. But it just doesn't feel like it, and it doesn't seem like there's a good reason why Fisk hasn't done that yet. So I guess on one hand, we need to give people a reason to storm the courthouse. The good people, Team Daredevil. And one way we could do that is to have Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Karen, Christine, the governor, all be directly threatened by Kingpin, which they kind of are, but I wouldn't say it's directly enough. The other way you could do it is you could have Kingpin have someone or have something, some sort of hostage or maybe access to some sort of weapon that he's going to unleash, which would force the people to like go get him. Because as the show exists, I understand what they're going for with storming the courthouse. I think it is a cool, powerful message. I don't think it is fully justified by what is happening in the show. I also think, while I appreciate that we are doing the Cold North Redemption Tour, I think it's been long overdue. I think it's wild that it took this long, but hey, at least we're doing it. I think this line is insane.
Let him in.
Because that's not what you should do, Cold North. The line is, stand down. don't shoot, right? Because that's what the AVTF was going to do. In this instance, they're not going to do it. And the people are going to storm the courthouse anyway. But you can't say, let them come in, because they're still not supposed to come in. So then we get the two announcements. First, Fisk goes on TV and tells New York how much he loves it and how much he wants it to fight for him. And then BB comes on and then does another Fisk City Without Fear video and unmasks herself and is like, let's go storm the courthouse. I mean, she doesn't say that, but that seems to be where it goes. Which leads to all of the main characters, pretty much. Cherry, Brett Mahoney, those other cops from before, Little White Tiger, her aunt, all of them, and an army of people in makeshift Daredevil costumes, hoodies, and I saw someone from the Hasbro team saying that this is what they did. People that have the prop Daredevil mask that you can buy as part of the Marvel Legends line. It's like $100. Plenty of the people in this scene are wearing that, which I think is cool, because in the universe where Daredevil exists and where all these guys exist, people would have this stuff. People have it in a world that we live in now where they don't exist. So if they did exist, it would be way cooler to have them. So they all storm the thing. Cole North really outs himself as like incredibly gullible, maybe just kind of dumb or naive. I don't know what they're going for with him. And this is the thing with this character. It's just frustrating because I could see where they're going with it, but they missed one step. And that step is Cole North has to decide whether he's going to work with Powell and shoot the people, or whether he's going to defect from the task force and hit Powell, which is what he does. His change of heart comes from the fact that Powell says to shoot Cherry, and Cole says, but they're cops. They're good guys like us. Which, Cole, where have you been this whole time? This can't be where your moment of clarity comes from. You can maybe expand on this moment and have it be something where Cole goes, I didn't see everybody before, but there's nobody with us. Like, it's just us. Nobody showed up from the Fisk side. Like, maybe we are really alone in this. And, like, maybe we're the bad guys. But then what really changes his mind is Little White Tiger comes out and says, and he killed my uncle. And he wasn't even bad. And then Powell's like, but he's a cop killer. He kills cops. And the aunt's like, no, he doesn't kill cops. He would never kill the cops. And Cole says, wait a second. You said he killed cops. It's like, buddy, everybody has been telling you that the whole time, is that it didn't happen the way that it's described. This character has told you, all these characters have told you before. I don't understand in this moment. Genuinely, I think it needs to be a little clearer what changes Cole's mind. Besides, he doesn't want to shoot the cops, because Cole and the task force have been shooting lots of cops. They shot and killed at least one cop last episode. So why is this the breaking point for Cole? I don't know. And then we get the big hallway fight. So as much as I thought episode 3 had a hallway fight, because it is kind of a hallway, and it's filmed in that one take. Obviously, there's lots of cutting, but it's supposed to seem like one take. A, I wouldn't say that's necessarily a hallway. It's more like, I don't know, a warehouse with the corridor or something. But B, I think this is the more interesting hallway fight, because this is the first time a character's had a hallway fight like this that did not involve Matt at all. Now, obviously, we see Matt, Jessica, and Little White Tiger fighting through the task force, but on the other side, we see Fisk, who's just given up, who's like, I'm not even going to try to be a good guy anymore. I am just going to kill a bunch of these guys. And Fisk plows through a bunch of protesters, killing them all. It's awesome. This part of the episode was so fun. I will say, I've seen a lot of people online say, well, how does he do that and then still get away? Still get to retire to a beach, even though he killed like 20 people. And forget about his other crimes, but like just that one. And I think the answer is, A, the people making the punishment know that this is a punishment worse than death for Kingpin, is being forced to leave New York City. But B, more importantly, Fisk has a lot of money, and Fisk has at least one pretty competent lawyer. It would be very easy for a lawyer to argue that what Fisk did was in self-defense when a mob of people were threatening him and his staff, people who wanted to cause harm to Kingpin and probably the people associated with Kingpin. Fisk went out and protected them. He cleared a path. Is that what, like, actually happens? Not really. But, like, I think that is a very defensible position for someone like Fisk to use to just get out of trouble. And Fisk kills a bunch of people, tosses them off the thing. All the good guys show up, and Fisk gives his little moment where he's saying, I gave everything for you. I will say, weird bit of editing here. While I love this speech and I like the idea of the New Yorkers, like, rising up and just beating the hell out of Fisk, it feels like it's edited strangely, because we see there is one set of stairs. It goes up, makes a left or a right, and then goes out, right? Like, that is how you get from the level everyone is at to where Kingpin is at. We see Matt and Jessica, as people are starting to push past them and make it up the stairs, starting to beat up Fisk. Matt and Jessica both spring into action. They both jump onto their stairs and start just trying to get through as quickly as they can to save Fisk from the mob. That happens in a shot, and it is very clear that they are almost there. Like, they have to get past 4 or 5 people and then they're Fisk. But then we see an overhead shot that doesn't show them on the stairs at all. And I'm not saying it ruined the episode, but just like, what's going on with that? That was weird. weird decision. Nat gets everybody to stop beating up Kingpin. They have this nice conversation, which probably will be the last Kingpin Daredevil conversation. We may see Fisk again. Maybe Matt Murdock will, meet up with him. Maybe it'll even be Daredevil, but it won't be the same kind of relationship as it is now. And that's the thing, is the strength of these characters is what makes this continue to work, even though we've seen a lot of this play out with them already. We see Matt and Karen on a date, and they're dating and having a little dating chit-chat, but he gets arrested for being Daredevil, which, correct, but also, surprised he even got out of the courthouse, because you were supposed to leave the courthouse. But I guess if you're Matt, they're like, listen, I'm gonna go to jail for a very long time. I'd like to have this nice little dinner. And they managed to get through a course, because there's some empty plates there. So, like, what's another couple of days in jail for this? And then he gets arrested. One thing I find very strange, there's someone else in this restaurant. I'm assuming everybody on planet Earth knows what's going on, especially because you're in New York City. You would have heard, someone would have called you and be like, hey, are you okay? I hear there's riots today. But as we see when they zoom out, there's somebody just ordering dinner, even though someone else at the restaurant is getting arrested at the restaurant. And it's clearly the guy that's on TV for being the super vigilante. Also, when Matt knelt down to get cuffed and, like, take it in, I kind of thought he was going to propose to Karen. Just because of that motion, I was like, oh, this is going to be both. He's going to be taken in and also propose. But then he doesn't. I'm fine with that. I don't think they need to do that. I like where this couple's at. And then we get a few very confusing moves. So Jess and Danielle are at the old Aliens Investigations office, and Luke comes in. Turns out he's doing okay. There doesn't seem to be anything bad going on between him and Jessica. I would imagine she probably wasn't thrilled that he went overseas, but it does seem like Mr. Charles didn't really give him a choice. And it just, again, makes me go like, what was he doing? Was he doing Suicide Squad stuff like Task Force X? Was he murdering people in like Kandahar or whatever? Because that seems like something I hope we reckon with in the future for that character. And you kind of have to assume it's something like that, because whatever he's doing, Bullseye is taking his spot now. Which, and maybe I'll talk about this in a future video, but with Bullseye being a fully formed version of Bullseye, working with Mr. Charles, Val, the CIA, perhaps even the Avengers with a Z, could we maybe make one of the teams that Bullseye is traditionally on? I mean, I think it would be great if we just added him onto the new Avengers for Doomsday. Like, why not? Just say we got a guy, he's new, he's trick shot. He's the new Hawkeye kind of guy. Pretend he's not Bullseye. But just, I want to see more of him, and I think we have a lot of obvious places where he can go, and I hope they do some of that. Then we get Heather. Heather's gone full Muse. There's a character in the comics that is a version of Muse who is a woman. Seems like that's what they're doing with her. I don't hate it. We'll see how that plays out in a year or so, if there's like something to that plot line. But I do think it's the most interesting thing she's been given to do so far. We see Daredevil in prison. He sees Cole North. Cole North's like, hey, sorry about killing all those people and doing all those terrible things to you. Turns out we were the bad guys. It seems a little wild that they would be in the same prison as Matt, but hey, maybe. And Fisk is on the beach. Matt is in his prison cell. This is obviously a reference to, and a lot of people have pointed this out, the famous Daredevil story, The Devil in Cell Block D. I'm not exactly sure that that's where they're going with this, because very recently in the comics, Daredevil also went to prison. It is different enough that I think there is going to be some sort of melding of those stories. I also wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't spend that much time in prison in the series for season 3. One thing that now we can kind of talk about it. So stuff that was spoiled, kind of. And by spoiled, I think people use the word spoiled way too loosely, and it's become like learning any detail about a movie is spoiling it. It's not what spoiling is. That feels like that can't be what spoiling is, right? Spoiling is specifically like a twist, some sort of late game plot point is being revealed before you should know about it. My general rule of thumb is if it's in the marketing, it can't be a spoiler. But that being said, 2 pretty big spoilers came out for this one. One, Sheila's the mayor now. Saw it in the Spider-Man trailer. I wish they didn't show that, but whatever. I don't think anybody thought that Fisk was going to be the mayor in that movie, so this is fine. But the second thing, Mike Coulter Instagrammed a picture of himself and Jessica Jones, perhaps another actor, who knows, after a day of filming, which included Charlie Cox. And this is during filming of season 3, which was filming as this was being released. In the picture that Mike Coulter posted, Daredevil is wearing a prison uniform. And it became so obvious, like, oh, of course, he's going to go to prison. He's going to get arrested for being Daredevil. I see. Man, Mike, you can't do that. You just can't do that. And, he's been out of the game for a little bit. He hasn't done this Marvel thing, so maybe he kind of forgot how it works. But, like, man, that's a tough one. And then that's the end. I think this finale was great. I think it did everything it was supposed to do. Fighting was very fun, very creative. We're seeing new things. The Fisk just beat the hell out of guys. And it really focused on this tension between Matt Murdock and Fisk, which was explored almost exclusively in a courtroom, which is about as good as you can hope for Daredevil. Are there some things I'm, a little disappointed by? Sure. I'm just a little disappointed that at no point did the swordsman go, hey, I have a stepdaughter or something who might want to help, or you might just run into, so like keep an eye out. Also, I do think it is weird knowing where this is and kind of knowing that there is going to be a Punisher special presentation that probably isn't going to fully connect to this. It's just weird that he's not here for this. There's plenty of time for him to come up in season 3, although it feels like the anti-vigilante task force no longer exists, and that felt like that was his big problem. But like, it feels a little strange that he did not play a part in the finale at all. I will make another video about where I think certain characters are going to end up. But for now, these are all my thoughts on Daredevil. Overall, this season has ruled. It is the best season of Born Again, which if you only compare it to the last one, that's pretty obvious. But I think it lands right in the middle. It's better than Born Again Season 1 and Daredevil Season 2, and it is not as good as Daredevil Season 1 and Daredevil Season 3. But very few shows are. You know, Disney is 2 for 2 on the year so far, and I'm very excited to see what happens with this Punisher special presentation, with the X-Men show, and with Spider-Man, because they're poised to have a really big year if they can keep this momentum going, and I'm very hopeful that they will. And like I said, we'll make another video where we'll talk about maybe some of the other villains that could show up in the future, like, oh, I don't know, Mr. Fear is one of them. Pretty big Daredevil villain that the shows haven't touched on yet. And speaking of fear, it reminded me of a video I watched recently called Gods of the Deep. It's part of the Gods and Monsters series by Curious Archives. In this video, they talk about why so many cultural myths and like cultural monsters are tied to the ocean and the deep ocean. Why is it such a big deal? And this hits home to me because I'm also pretty scared of the ocean. Not that I think I'm ever going to be there, but like I know I'm probably not going to play that Subnautica game. And this is why. If you want to watch this video and all the other videos in this series, and also, I mean, you can check out all my videos early and ad-free. You go to this video's sponsor, Nebula. Nebula is where you should be watching these. It's the creator-owned subscription streaming service that I helped to create. So basically all my videos, that's Nando V Movies videos, and the Nando Cut videos too, go on Nebula first. You can watch them without ads, you can download them to watch them offline. It is without a doubt the best way to watch my videos. And that's not all, because you got exclusive content on Nebula, like I said, like Tom Nichols videos. But that's not our only Tom. We also have Tom Scott, who's doing a series called England, where he goes to different counties in England and does an interesting thing, learns about an interesting industry. And in this week's episode, he drives a boat from his childhood that makes him so happy. It's the happiest I've seen a person in a very long time. And episodes of his series, England, go up on Nebula a week early. And Nebula is already a steal at $5 a month, or just $60 a year. But if you go to go.nebula.tv/thenandocut, you can get a year of Nebula for just $30. That is $2.50 a month. It is an amazing deal. Again, go to go.nebula.tv/thenandocut to check it out.